LSAC just released a new technical report and it is a doozy. It's 85 pages. I went through it so you don't have to, but one of the most surprising things I discovered was about accommodated test takers, aka test takers with extra time and other accommodations. Most notably, it showed that LSAC is now approving 98% of accommodation requests from those applying for things like extra time. Years back, it used to be 70%. So 70% of approvals previously, up to 98% approvals is pretty significant in my opinion. What this means is that if you apply for accommodations, you are virtually guaranteed to get them as long as you fill out the paperwork properly, you check all the boxes, you get a report from a qualified professional like a doctor or a psychiatrist. Most accommodations were for conditions like ADHD or other psychological conditions. Very few of them were for things like hearing impairment, sight impairment, or other physical disabilities. These were more mental disabilities, for example. Now, what does this mean? Well, according to the report, accommodated test takers score on average 5 points higher than those who don't have accommodations, which suggests to me it is possible. It is suggestive, not a guarantee, but it is suggestive to me that probably LSAC is over accommodating people relative to what they should be. Because if accommodations were solely bringing folks up to a level playing field, that would suggest that the averages would remain constant between accommodated test takers and non-accommodated or unaccommodated test takers. The report also showed that whites are overrepresented in receiving accommodations relative to other racial groups. Now, why am I sharing all of this? I'm hoping to level the playing field here because I think a lot of folks out there don't realize that this is even an option, that you can even apply for accommodations if you think you might have ADHD, testing anxiety, or another condition for which you might qualify for accommodations. And I suspect that some folks are probably abusing the system, and perhaps LSAC is being a bit overly liberal in granting accommodations to those. Because here's the thing, if you go to a doctor and you say, I have difficulty focusing, I'm stressed about the LSAT, I think extra time might help me, you can probably find a doctor who's going to say, sure thing, sounds fair enough, here's your accommodation note. If that doctor says no, what can you do? Go ask a different doctor. And I know whenever I talk about accommodations, I get tons of hate for this, suggesting that this is unfairly stigmatizing those who do receive accommodations. And that is not my intention at all. I can already feel the hateful comments coming. Bring them on. I can handle it. No worries. However, on the flip side, if you are also similarly concerned that perhaps some students are abusing the system, I would also appreciate your thoughts in the comments below. Because the thing is that LSAC used to be far too strict in granting accommodations. I thought this was unfair of them. Basically, if you deserved accommodations, and this is of course including that blind test taker who sued LSAC and got them to ultimately remove the logic game section, they were telling him, no, we refuse to accommodate you. They got sued several times under the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and as a result, they had to change their tune and start granting accommodations to those who were unfairly being denied them. I'm supportive of that change, but the thing is, the pendulum may have swung too far in the other direction. If they are approving 70% of accommodated test takers' requests, that seems in the ballpark of being fairly reasonable. I don't know exactly what the number should be, but I suspect the number should not be 98% receiving accommodations if they ask for them. You can get time and a half, you can get double time, and so for reference, you get 35 minutes with standard timing. With time and a half, you get 53 minutes per section. And with double time, you get 70 minutes per section. However, it doesn't end there. I heard from one student who got 367% extra time over the 35 minutes, meaning she's getting something like a couple hours per section of the LSAT, taking it over 2 days on paper, unlimited stop-start breaks. And the thing is, law schools will not know whether you received accommodations or not on the LSAT. A 175 with extra time, a couple hours per section, is viewed the same as a 175 with the 35-minute time constraint. And so something seems a little bit off here. And I don't blame anyone for applying for accommodations if they think they might qualify. If the doctor gives the note, why not ask LSAC for the time? If anything, I blame LSAC for being so strict on accommodations initially that they got sued so many times that they had to remove logic games entirely, and that now the pendulum has swung so far in the other direction that they feel they have to approve 98% of accommodated test takers' requests in order to perhaps avoid getting sued again. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. If you would like my help preparing for the LSAT, whether you're taking with accommodations or without, I'd be glad to help you out on your journey to achieving a top LSAT score. Links below. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.